Hey everybody. Geezer and Bruce and Mr. Gumby, how you guys doing? And Orange Hannah and Dwayne. Let's see. Okay. Um, how's everybody doing? I've been have you ever had a late day after we had a visit, excuse me, from a bear today, and that sort of threw things off. I was gonna go out and mow the yard and a bear came, and so we were keeping an eye on him, and he came up to the back door and then was heading up the steps. And my wife said something to the bear, and the bear stopped and looked over the railing halfway up the stairs and got concerned. I don't know. I told my wife the bear was a watch salesman, so he was gone pretty quickly. Anyhow, so finally got out and got the yard mowed. Time I was finished with it, it was almost 2 o'clock. So everything's been sort of. Hey, Mark, how's it going? Tomas, how are you? Oh man, Javier. Anyway, I got my this is day 6 for my 7 day, and even though I'm a little late, this thing is right on time. This was my long sufferings Seiko 5 who went out and did the yard with me. Man, I tell you, I every spring when I do the yard, I go by the back next to where the goats live, and there's sort of like I've let a jungle grow there, and there are these vines, these big thick vines, and they got a hold of sort of the combination throttle and gear shift on my mower and pulled it back, and I couldn't move it, so I got off my lawn tractor and ran up and attacked them. So I got all busted up. Anyway, hey Dominic and Truth Fears, how's it's going? Yeah, Geezer, that's who it was. It's George Clooney's twin brother. Anyway, so that's like I said. So I got to thinking. Oh, by the way, I showed you guys this morning. I keep it in a cup. I have my puffer in this cup. I'll have to get another little cup. I got my this is one of those sticky balls, and what you do with them, for those of you guys who missed it this morning, this is what you take this and you simply unwind it or wind it, and if you give it a good wind, that thing is on there. It's a you can't get it off like this, and then you take the sticky ball and it comes right off. It's an amazing tool. Oddly enough, this came with a needle. One of those. I don't know what they call them. Bicycle pump needles is what I call them. So whenever you want to pump it up, but you don't want it fully up because you want it to flatten out against the back of the watch so that you can have a whole area covered. So anyway, and I keep the cup. By the way, that's my tip for your puffer blowers and stuff. Have a little cup on your workbench to keep them in. Otherwise, they roll all over the place. Like I said, I got to get another little cup for my blowers, my puffer, or whatever they call them. Okay. Hi, Tim. How you doing? What I've been thinking about is sort of what's going to happen in the market. Not so much in the market, but sort of in watch collecting. Okay, which includes the market, but hey now, Shed, how you doing? I didn't see you way up there. Um, there's a lot of progno uh, prognostic guessing, I'll put it that way, about what's going to happen. And one of the big ones, and at least this is one I think so, is that more and more stuff is going online. If companies who sent people home and have them work from home, they're perfectly happy with it. And the people at home, I don't know, they get, the people with the brick and mortar office, if they can have everything run effectively with people working remotely, why not? That's less parking that they have to make available, less this, less that, less pollution, less everything. And they've been talking a lot about that. And I'm thinking, well, how is this going to affect the online, just sort of watch market? I know a lot of people say, well, they really like to get their hands on a watch and to, see how it feels and looks and, do that to it. And uh, so that's going to be an interesting thing too. Me, um, I it doesn't bother me so much one way or the other. Hi, Eddie. Um, no, Eddie, I'm encouraging summer to come. Boy, it was hot and muggy here, and so I thought, I'll put on something cool. Hi, Richard. How you doing? Um, yeah, Shane got a Gronfeld. Yeah, I saw that. It's a nice one. It's a Remontois 1941. That's nice about it. We were talking about earlier, talking to Sean about getting my microscope working. This thing I got. I think I showed it to you yesterday. The problem is I can't get the Wi-Fi to work with it. So we'll see what happens. Sean said he had some problems with it too. Maybe I haven't left it on enough. Uh, anyway, hi Luke, how you doing? Bonjour. All right, so let's sort of look at some possibilities. There's some watches that there's something going on with certain of these companies. And I think you have companies that are traditional brick and mortar who are trying out getting their feet wet. Um, uh, for the first time, and they're trying to do some stuff, and that's I think is going to be interesting. What do you think the best three-hander for less than 50,000? Oh boy, the best one. It could. Well, maybe not. If you could find a Gronfeld, I happen to like the FP Jones Chronometsu Brain a lot for now that's under 50,000. Let's see what else. And really for a good watch. If they could just tuck that Remontois that Gronfeld had under 50, I think it's around 52, 54, somewhere in there. I'd choose that one. But boy, under 50,000, you got a lot of good choices. A lot of people like, oh, wait a minute. Oh, I know, a Lang and Heim, easily. There are so many nice ones under 50,000. And they're three-handers, except inside they got something going. I saw one, I think the list price on, I forgot the name of it. All of the Lang and Heim watches are named after Saxon princes and kings. Mine's Frederick II. I know a little about him. And then they have all of these other characters, and that's why it's hard for me to remember the name of the watch. But they have this one watch that does have a Remontoy Galate, but I think it's 70,000. But I saw one for 40,000, so that's the best one under 50,000 that you're asking about. What do you guys think of that? Hi, Crappy. Um, Hi, Little D. Ah, good. Okay. Hi, NS something. What do you think? I mean, like, boy, that's it's such a wide area under 50,000 Giza. That happens to be a really interesting U.S. not Aussie pesos. What's Aussie pesos? I don't know why that struck me as funny, um, but it does. Um, oh, let's see. Hey, now, Shed, Haldeman three hand is my choice. Yeah, that wouldn't be a bad one either. Beat Haldeman. Yeah, that would be an incredibly nice one. Yeah, and invest the other 49,000. Under 100K, Kari Vinjay. Yeah, boy, yeah, we agree on a lot there. Today I did something. I don't know. I was going to go see my bank about this. I got a huge charge, something like a $300 charge on my charge card I have with my bank. And it was for a purchase I made through Chrono24. Let me tell you what happened. I think I mentioned this to you before, is that if I go through Chrono24, yeah, sometimes you can get a better deal because the seller's not going to have to pay a lot of fees to Chrono24 if you keep your mouth shut about it. The good thing about Chrono24 is that they add a layer of security that most people want. The problem with me isn't, I got no problem with Chrono24. In fact, I like him. But, and it's sort of the premier, sort of the Amazon .com of watch trading. But there was this company I knew, and in fact, I bought my last watch from them. And when I had negotiated with them a long time ago, they were really jerks. I mean, total jerks. When anybody tells you, it's sort of like if you make an offer in good faith and they act like you're the worst person on earth, I just walk away. I mean, that's the stupidest response you can have. I mean, there are a lot of really good responses to a low entry, but theirs was, I think they still have the watch years later because they were decided to use it as a doorstop. But I did go around. I found them on Chrono24. I think that's where they were. Yeah. And so then I went to them directly and sent them an email, and I'll see what happens. Usually they take forever to respond. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up is that this is a company that I think about the only way they're going to stay in business is get on the ball with some online communication. They have a lot of things that they use very poorly. These online chats and so on and so forth. If you go to someplace like Gray and Son, there's a picture of a pretty girl that comes up and you want to chat, about this and that. And I guess you're supposed to look at that picture and start typing, it could be the Witch of the West and the Wizard of Oz for all you know. But the point is that they set up communication. Some companies are pretty bad at it. In fact, most of the watch companies are. But if the watch companies set up on Chrono24 and are willing to pay the fee on that, that can be a little much. I've noticed that a lot more of the manufacturers now have online sales too. One that just started recently was H. Moser, but there have been some other ones who've been doing it for a while. I think, but I'm not positive, Jaja Lacutra. Because you go there, and I think you can order directly from them. I've never tried that before, because they're usually, you don't negotiate with the manufacturer, because if you do, they'll be accused of underselling their ADs. So I don't know. I think we're in for some really very interesting times when you have a company like H. Moser doing it. Now, we were talking right at the beginning. I think Mark pointed out that, or Eddie, or one of you guys had pointed out that Shane got a new Gronfeld. And I think those are done directly with the manufacturer. In other words, you contact the seller. Now, I happen to know that I'm pretty sure that Shane made that deal last October when we met a bunch of us met in New York, and Gronfeld was at Cellini's ahead of time. But now, if I wanted to get, for example, if I came into a lot of dough and wanted to get a Wooten Lannen, I'd contact them online and negotiate whatever had to be negotiated, and then he could send it to me. And Shane just got his today, and he had ordered it several months ago. So it's an interesting kind of thing, and I think it's important to get used to for both the watch collectors as well as the watch sellers. The watch sellers have, especially ADs, they have a vested interest in having someone come in the store and chatting with them and so forth. And a lot of collectors like that. To the extent to which that's going to be sort of become rare as opposed to the mode, would be interesting. I saw an interesting thing on TV last night. Excuse me. Where is it? In a town called Bend, Oregon. There's the last Blockbuster. And Blockbuster is, sort of, you really have to be nostalgic to remember Blockbuster, I guess. What they really were, they ripped off people left and right. And I've had words with them in the past, a long time ago, and they finally had to settle up on some giant lawsuit. But now when there's only one left, people are getting all misty-eyed about Blockbuster. And there's one store that's left in Bend, Oregon. They had a story about it. People sitting at home watching Netflix going nuts. And so they go to Blockbuster. I thought that was funny. But Blockbuster is sort of a residue of an old way of doing business. And other than the fact that it's the only one left, and not only in the U.S., it's the only one left in the world, is sort of an interesting kind of thing. And Netflix, in fact, what Netflix has done, I have never done this with them, but Netflix will send you a CD of one of the movies you want if they're not streaming it. Hi, Karasis. Okay. You can buy JLC online. Thanks, Tomas. The thing of it is that there are huge markets. Clyde likes to refer to states like Oklahoma and some of these other ones as flyover states, and it's an interesting way to describe sort of a large population that doesn't have the same kind of availability to a variety of watches that other places do. And I think they would be a great target for online marketers. If they simply may be by default. If somebody starts collecting watches and they see a watch that they've never seen before, and they know that the watch store that handles mostly quartz and is going into smartwatches. That would be very interesting. You can there are some MB&F purchases under 50. Boy, is one of them a legacy machine, NS something? Those I really like. I like a lot. Debuthe, yeah, those are really nice too. There are a whole lot of, but I think I'm still a big advocate of finding really good deals where you have ones that are overlooked but have really good quality, construction and movement and so forth, and workmanship altogether. I was looking at, I forgot which one it was today. I think it was I think it was an MB&F, and I was looking at the finishing on the MB&F, and it looked uneven. Well, the reason it looks uneven is that it was all hand done. But one thing that I noticed is that where you have a V, if you look down on from the top down on a plate or a bridge, and you can see all along the side here, you have beveling and the enlage. And then on the tip, and if the tip comes together just at a exact point, each one was beveled this way and beveled that way, but the point isn't beveled, then you know it wasn't hand done. At least that's what I was told. And so I was looking at this thing on an MB&F, and it was a little uneven. But then I looked at the tip, and sure enough, there was the hand beveling done. And those kinds of things I think are, I think I've said before, and again, I do like Seiko, but Seikos are too perfect in the sense that they have such. I think the same may be said for Rolex, is that they're all perfect in the sense that they have very, very good what Philippe Dufour calls serial production. I love that term, which is mass kind of Henry Ford assembly line. Anyway, I think brands like Ferrari always have a dealership showroom. Yeah, let me say something about Ferrari. Ferrari is a really interesting case. I read an article once about really bargain sports cars, and one of them was a Ferrari. He said, boy, you get a really good deal on a used Ferrari. And they had all the reasons. And apparently they didn't last too long. They were really good when you first had them, but they had a whole list of sports cars that had been very expensive, and everything dropped like a rock after a point. If you're a mechanic, you have it made. When I was in the Rolls Royce Club, the guys that had a Silver Shadow, people sort of were like, did you to hope we made it to the meeting? And the guy who was my mechanic up in Springfield, Mass, where they used to make the Springfield Rolls Royce, had a Shadow, and the reason that they had them, they were relatively inexpensive, but man, I tell you, you had your hands full keeping them running the way you wanted to. And I think the same thing is true with certain watches that are, and cars like Ferrari, that, you should know something about them before you get one. Hey, watch out, but direct is a way for the future. No one will hold stock in a parking lot. Yeah, I tell you though, what may happen too. This may be another result. There may be something that amounts to hi Tigum. There may be something that amounts to, they have these in New York. They have these big shows, and dealers go to them, and they have just all kinds of watches and watch parts and everything you'd want to buy. I forgot the name of it. And I was thinking, boy, that might be a place to go and look. It's essentially where you go to buy watches to sell watches. And, that's moving online. Today, I got an email from Christie's about an auction in Hong Kong. And if I wanted to bid in it, I was invited. Say, hey, how would you like to bid in this stuff in Hong Kong? And everything was in Hong Kong dollars. And then they would say what that was in US dollars. It's easy enough to set up online, little, conversion thing on that. So I know these are, for what the future may hold after people have gotten used to working from home. And especially once the kids are in school, that I think would make a big difference. Ferrari car is really cheap watch, is like needs tuning every 3 months. It is a Lamborghini that made tractors. I see. Oh boy, I got a car thing going. Order your car using a mobile app, and it gets delivered to your home. Yeah, yeah, they have things like that. There are all kinds of stuff. Hi, Kaz. Um, Boy, I tell you, I didn't mean to turn it into a car discussion. It was my fault. Let's see what you guys. I just ordered over the internet and have to cancel the order. Okay, wait. Could be. Okay. Okay, we got into cars. Now we're lost forever now. But trying to get back to watches again. Hi, Forbin. Trying to get back to watches. I don't know. I think when Amazon came out, I remember the first time I heard about it, there's this guy selling books online and they're really good discounts. And I checked it out and then I started ordering. And I've been a customer of theirs for like 20 years or so. And the thing of it is that was like revolutionary and everyone was saying what a bad idea it was, how wrong they were. And I went through the whole thing with books from the publishers and the author's point of view, and watched as things went from sort of this dictatorship of these big companies like Tower Books and Tower Records, Barnes and Noble, to they became almost irrelevant. And now it's Amazon. And so what is going to happen, I think, is something really innovative. One of the things that's happened in the past that may come back and be new, and I think Breguet first did this, and correct me if I'm wrong, was a subscription watch. And I'm not exactly sure what the mechanism of that was. And also remember, a lot of the online stuff used to be done with Sears Roebuck catalogs. There wasn't that much difference. You get a catalog and you could go through it and see what was there, just like you get a web page now. Web pages are faster and a lot of other things, but the ordering and the process of ordering is a certain degree different than going into a store and getting it directly from the store. So this whole thing may change. NS something, you are so right. Publishers were the same way. They got stuck, and a lot of them didn't make it. I saw some publishers who had been around forever, and they poo-pooed the whole idea of everything from. We started doing some, what was it called, page makeup using laser. One of the first ones to do that. And I was using a laser printer rather than, you sent it to they had these special machines. I forgot what I don't even remember what they called them. But it was essentially a typesetter. And she had a typesetting machine, and you give them your stuff, and they would, you give them the manuscript. And I remember when slowly it went from a manuscript to sending a file. a Word file or something to the publisher. I was in California, publisher was in New York. We got real used to that very quickly. And for the editor, it was a dream because, she could go through and redline a bunch of stuff, and then they had a way to do it with the computer. And for the author, he didn't have to start rolling out, paper. And then so when everything went to online, there were people who adapted or companies who adapted and ones that didn't. The ones that didn't, it's really funny. They would say things like, we've got a lot of experience in this, and so we know what's right. Man, they had uh, what we used to call, a guy who's some old cop would say, "Oh, I've had 20 years experience," and some of the younger cops would point out, you guys had 1 year's experience 20 times. And I think the same was true for the book companies. I think the same is true for watch companies. I have tons of publishing clients. I know just how backwards they are. Okay, it's, I tell you, you want to see something backwards. There's nothing more backwards than a university press, most of them, okay? Um, there's some like regular publishers, and oddly enough, there's some of the oldest university publishers like Oxford University Press and Cambridge University Press. They're pretty much on the ball. But I remember I did some editorial work for some university publishers. My God, I tell you, I don't know if any of you saw there was a film. It took your kids, I took my grandkids to see it. It's called Zootopia. I think it was Zootopia 2. And they went to the DMV, and the animals working in the DMV were these sloths. And they just did everything slowly. That reminds me of what the university presses were. And also some of these watch companies that are stuck back in another era. What is a subscription model? Hi, Mark. It was started by Breguet, I think, and he has a real cool French name for it. And basically, I think people signed up for a watch, and they would subscribe to it. When a new one would come out, they'd get it. And I think they had to pay for the subscription up front, which would provide the funding for making the watches. There's a lot of interesting stuff that Breguet came up with, more than, business things, in addition to some really good ideas for brilliant ideas for watchmaking. Okay, let's see. Joma Shop is they are good at online sales. They are. Joma Shop is a great example. I tell you, so is, what are they called? Shopworn. Shopworn they're very much on the ball, and Shopworn negotiates. I found out. I like them a lot. Both of those companies, I've had good experience with. Some people haven't, but that's true with everything. Pre-order only. Kaz, I'm not really sure how it was set up, but I know of some older watches are subscription watches from old Breguets from when he started it. Yeah, that's how, Geezer, that's how you spell it. Subscript. Just pretend it has a French accent, a correct French accent when I said subscription. That's the one, Geezer. Oh, you gave big discounts. Okay, well, if I could use some of those. Hey, Tim, I live in Massachusetts. My AD is in Louisville, Kentucky. Gave up on East Coast ADs. Tim, you ever go down to the European watches? Ever talk to those guys? that guy, I got one watch from him, and they're all right, I guess. No. Let's see. Choppack is doing it. Okay. Do you do eBay alerts for when certain watches you want become available? I got something like that but there's what I do if I find something I really like. There's a little like thing that I can save something I was looking at, so I do something like that. Um, yeah, Mark, exactly. Yeah, these guys not only negotiate, but and then every now and then Shopborn will have a major discount, like 20%. When I got that already discounted Bulgari Octo Roma, and then they had a 20%. I grabbed it, man, and I got a great buy on that. Um, yeah, I think take him. I think, and I think the subscription model has its own downside for the producer. Not sure. Joma Shop is only to be trusted with stuff listed as in stock. Everything else passed. And that's something let me tell you something about that. That was not my experience. I had asked for something and negotiated a price with them, and they said it's going to be a while before we can get it. It was like, and they said it, a long time, and it was 2 or 3 months, but I saved $10,000, worth it every penny. So if you deal with them and they don't have something, you may have to wait. But if it's something that is not easily available, you can get some very good buys there with them. That's my experience. Whether that's anybody else's, I don't know. Um, Anyone ever buy online at Etsy or Ketawiki? Roger, I think I got something from Etsy. I think that's where I got the Dunhill. Sometimes Etsy, I think it was Etsy, or it was something like one of those, or Katawiki, one of those two. And man, I got the greatest deal ever on that. It was turned 18 karat gold with a Jacquet 736 movement. And it was mine for about 2 days. Then it went. My wife got it. But that was you can find some great deals there because they have all kinds of stuff, and watches are every now and then someone will figure out, maybe, oh, I got this out of the barn, and I'll put it up there. Maybe someone will want it. And I got a heck of a good deal on it. Hey, Airtoad, what's up? Check out Armand Nicole original historical movement line of watches for. Oh, okay, thanks. Armand Nicolay is sort of got, I'll put it this way, very economical movements in their watches, but they're not bad looking watches. I once thought buying an Omega from them, but changed my mind. Okay. My experience was wildly different. I waited 2 months and they never gave me an update. I ended up getting a better price elsewhere. Yeah, this is NS something. I've talked to some people and they've had really bad experiences, and I've had two experiences with them. Both of them were good. One was so simple I didn't even have to think twice. But I have talked to other people and things didn't work out. With me, they worked out famously well, and so that's my experience. But I like to say, and you'll see that too. I think it's important if you have a if you have an experience that's good or bad, don't expect everybody else's to be the same. They might be, but listen to everyone, and you'll see if they have sort of a mix of them. That's one thing, but if they're all bad or they're all good, that's something else again. The other seller even got my name wrong on the warranty card. Okay. I don't worry about the warranty card. Maybe I should. I just figure rotate my watches, and if I'm really desperate, I got an 84-year-old watchmaker who's got watchmaker magic. Hey, little D, if your credit card has a point system relationship with PayPal and pay for a watch with PayPal, you can knock off a smidge more in the final price. I didn't know that, little D. Thank you. That sounds like a good tip. Joma promised me shipping within 1 month. Yeah, see, but I had a totally different experience. They said they told me it's going to be a like 3 or 4 months, and I think after 3 months or 2 months they had it, and there it was. And I got the thing, and like I said, it was $10,000 off of what anybody else was selling for, brand new, and it's been a joy ever since. I bought a couple of watches from Joma Shop and never had a problem. Yeah. No, they got my name on a warranty card. That is, I got the full warranty, but it was JLC, so I would have gotten the extended warranty anyway. Okay, that's good. That's a good thing, I guess. Oh man, there's I made a deal with, I swear to God, it must have been, it's one of those pawn shops, that the guy's, he has a gun under the cash register. It's one of these real, it's sort of, they're tough negotiators, very tough negotiators. And so I went back and forth with this guy here, trying to make me feel like a cheapskate, and which doesn't bother me at all. And so finally, I told the guy, I said, "Well, here's something for you to think about." Well, I'm not going to think about it one bit. So I called him the next day and said, "Okay, I'll up it a little." Just sometimes you can up your bid just a little, just to save faith on their part, and that can often work. So I don't know. God, I tell you, I feel devious even talking about these things. But there you go. Hey, Bruce, I bought a couple of watches from Joma Shop and never had a problem. Yeah. It's like a thing. You can't have a problem, though. I mean, there's our friend Federico. Most of the people I've talked to, is the greatest guy in the world. Great thing. I've heard other things too. And it's just people have different experiences. Sometimes they expect too much, or they expect too, I don't know, but I can't think of a single one that everything has been rosy. Now, if you go into an AD and pay full price, that's something else. So, we got wonderful service from them, and that's good to hear. I've heard, though, people go, they pay full price at an AD, they go in and have crummy service. There was a thing of all the people was FP Journe. There was a guy with an FP Journe watch, and I think it was may have been a perpetual calendar. I don't know, but there were sort of a group of guys, and apparently they were really big on FP Journe. At least they had a lot, and but some of them, they, in no uncertain terms, they were mad at FP Journe. Whereas my experience was just fantastic. I had a guardian angel, and she sent me and that was what they call them, guardian angels. We're taking a look at your watch, and then I met her. Anyway, so you have different experiences. My brother brought from Joma a perfect experience, but that was a stock item. Yeah, excuse me. Basically, I think what they do, I used a trade-in on with Joma Shop, and then had to wait a couple months and so forth. But I told him, I said, well, he said, well, we can't do the trade-in until this. And I said, look, if it doesn't work out, there's like a dozen other watches that you guys have that I'm interested in. So let's just do it, and you'll give me the credit for that watch. And then if mine comes in, great, and we just deduct it from the trade-in. And if there's something else, we'll deduct it from that. And he said, fine. And like I said, but mine did come in. And it took a while, but they told me that. So, um, hey, Truth Pros. What happened when you met her? Well, it was just, it was before she became the guardian angel. Okay. Mark, you ask the wrong questions sometimes. You really wrong questions. Hey, Mark, 5493. You are right, but gotta be careful. You don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. All right, guys. Well, listen, time. Oh boy, we're way overdue. So sorry about that. You better be, Mark. All right, you guys, take care. And there you go, Roger. Those are the clues you want to look for. Everyone, behave yourself. Stay safe, and hasta mañana.